What's hiding inside the Statue of Liberty? A staircase? An elevator? Maybe even some century-old graffiti? Most people snap a photo from the ferry, but step inside and you'll find a 19th century engineering marvel that feels more like a giant puzzle box than a monument. And if you're brave enough to climb all 354 steps, you'll feel every creak and groan of nearly 500,000 pounds of iron and copper above you. Terrifying? Maybe. Fascinating? Absolutely. Let's open the door and see what Lady Liberty is really hiding.
Behind Liberty's flawless appearance lies a story of tragedy and triumph that few visitors ever learn. The first engineer on the project, Eugène Viollet-le-Duc, died in 1879 before completing his plans. His death could have spelled disaster for the entire project, but fate intervened in the form of Alexander Gustave Eiffel, who would soon become famous for his tower, but first proved his genius inside Lady Liberty's frame. Edouard de la Boulaye conceived the idea of the statue, and sculptor Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi designed it. When Lady Liberty was officially unveiled in 1886, the world looked up and continued to look. From the ground to the top of the torch, she stands 305 feet, including the massive pedestal and foundation. Just the statue alone, from heel to the tip of the torch, is 150 feet tall, taller than most skyscrapers of her time. In fact, at the time of her completion, she was the tallest iron structure in the world, a title she held until the Eiffel Tower rose in Paris 3 years later.
She may look graceful, but she's anything but light. Liberty weighs in at approximately 450,000 pounds, equivalent to that of 50 adult African elephants. But have you ever wondered who she looks like? Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi, the sculptor who designed the statue, is said to have modeled her face after his own mother, Charlotte. No pressure for your next Mother's Day gift.
Today, we gaze at her silhouette from miles away. But in the late 19th century, New Yorkers first looked up not at a statue, but at a solitary arm with a torch. From 1876 to 1882, the massive torch-bearing limb loomed over Madison Square Park as a fundraising stunt. Fundraising proved difficult, and by 1885, work on the pedestal was threatened by a lack of funds. Publisher Joseph Pulitzer of the New York World initiated a fundraising drive to complete the project, attracting more than 120,000 contributors, most of whom donated less than $1, equivalent to $35 in 2025. With the funds finally secured and construction back on track, there remained just one colossal challenge: getting her across the Atlantic Ocean. To move the Statue of Liberty from France to New York, it had to be disassembled into 350 pieces and packed into 214 crates. Each piece was carefully cataloged, each rivet numbered, each copper panel mapped to its precise location in the hole.
She arrived in New York as a brilliant puzzle, piece by copper piece. Yet, even fully assembled, Lady Liberty would continue to change right before the world's eyes. When built, the statue was reddish-brown and shiny, but within 30 years it had oxidized to its current green color through reactions with air, water, and acidic pollution, forming a layer of verdigris which protects the copper from further corrosion.
Her skin may have aged with the elements, but the mind beneath the metal was years ahead of its time. Inside the statue, Eiffel built an iron truss tower, the first invisible suit of armor attached to a second suit of armor, the statue's exterior, by iron bars, ending in metal ribbons that were welded onto the external copper. This revolutionary double armor system represents one of the most ingenious engineering solutions of the 19th century. The genius lies not in just the construction, but in the very conception. Stone, marble, and bronze were too heavy and costly for a statue standing at 151 feet. So, workers employed an ancient metalworking process known as repousse, hammering the form out of thin sheets of copper. The Statue of Liberty can sway up to 3 inches side to side in heavy winds. That might not sound like much until you're inside her and you feel it. The torch? Reaching high above is even more spirited. It can swing as much as 6 inches. This flexibility isn't a flaw, it's a feature. Gustav Eiffel designed her iron skeleton like a spine and ribs, allowing the copper skin to breathe and shift instead of cracking. She has endured hurricanes, bomb threats, and national tragedies, yet never cracked.
Her massive presence deceives. One might imagine Liberty clad in thick, unyielding armor. In truth, her copper skin is astonishingly thin, just 3/32 of an inch. That's roughly the thickness of 2 stacked pennies. It's easy to marvel from the outside, but inside, that's where Lady Liberty tests your will, one sweltering, narrow, creaking step at a time.
The journey begins at ground level, where visitors face a total of 354 steps to reach the crown, 162 steps from the pedestal alone, and a daunting 146 winding steps within the statue itself. That final stretch must be earned step by step inside a space that narrows, warms, and coils upward. Claustrophobic? Yes. The staircase is barely wide enough for a single person to pass through. Hot? Always. The copper shell traps heat like an oven in summer. The steps themselves are only 18 inches wide, with a head clearance of just 6 feet. Tall visitors find themselves hunched over for the entire climb. Most visitors don't know that during the 1980s Centennial Restoration, engineers installed a modern elevator inside the pedestal. It doesn't reach the crown, visitors still face a long climb of 162 steps. However, it does provide access from the pedestal lobby to the observation deck. A separate, much smaller maintenance elevator exists inside the statue, but is not open to the public. At the summit, visitors are rewarded with a surreal view from 25 crown windows, shaped like the rays of the sun. Some say the number 25 has no special symbolism, it simply fits the design. Others say it represents vigilance, a watchful gaze toward all who enter America's shores. The crown itself houses only 10 people at a time. Here, 305 feet above sea level, you're literally inside the head of Liberty. The statue wears a 7-pointed crown, which is often misinterpreted. No, it's not for the 7 continents or 7 seas. Bartholdi never confirmed that. The spikes are rays of a radiant sun, a divine symbol of liberty enlightening the world. And what of the torch, the statue's most iconic symbol?
Once you could climb into it. From 1886 until 1916, visitors ascended into the flame itself and looked out through tiny windows. But then came sabotage. In the early morning hours of July 30th, 1916, during World War I, German agents bombed Black Tom Island, a munitions depot in Jersey City. The explosions heard as far as Philadelphia killed 7 people, shattered windows across Manhattan, and sent shrapnel tearing into Liberty's torch and skirt.
The torch was permanently closed. To this day, you cannot visit the torch, though a hidden service ladder still snakes through her right arm. Some maintenance crews and special guests have stood there, gazing out from the forbidden flame. But for most of us, it remains a sealed secret. The golden torch you see today isn't the original. The first torch, designed with red and amber glass panes, was beautiful, but not built for the elements. Water leaked in, lights corroded, and after repeated patchwork, it was deemed unfit. In 1984, the original torch was removed. Then, in 2018 to 2019, it made its final journey, a careful relocation across Liberty Island to the new Statue of Liberty Museum. Everyone sees the torch, everyone marvels at the crown, but most visitors never notice what lies quietly at her feet. Beneath her right foot are broken chains and a snapped shackle, a powerful and often overlooked detail. The statue doesn't just symbolize abstract freedom, she physically steps forward, crushing the symbols of oppression beneath her feet. And in her grasp, Lady Liberty clutches a tablet in her left hand, engraved with the Roman numerals that stand for July 4th, 1776. Beneath her copper skin, Liberty hides more than just meaning, she hides mysteries and legends.
Is there a secret room in her head? Sure, the crown. A trapdoor under her feet? Not quite. But the pedestal does house old foundations, sealed chambers, and long-retired mechanical systems. A time capsule hidden in her base? Some believe Bartholdi buried one during the 1884 cornerstone ceremony, which was presided over by the Freemasons. It has never been officially confirmed. Does she represent a deity? Absolutely. Bartholdi modeled her after Libertas, the ancient Roman goddess of liberty and personal freedom, often depicted with a torch and a crown of rays. As majestic as she looked, her real-world duties proved more complicated. Take her brief stint as a lighthouse, for example.
In 1886, when the Statue of Liberty was unveiled, she was also intended to guide ships. The U.S. Lighthouse Board took charge of her torch, fitting it with electric arc lamps to turn it into a functional lighthouse. But it didn't work. The light inside the torch was far too dim for navigation. Despite the drama of the idea, the execution fell flat. Why? Because the torch lacked one key thing every real lighthouse has: proper optics. After years of underwhelming performance and criticism from sailors who couldn't see the light, the lighthouse dream was extinguished in 1902. Decades after her light went out, it wasn't the glow of a beacon that needed fixing. It was her very bones. Time is not kind to iron, especially when it stands against salt air and storms for decades. By the 1980s, Lady Liberty was rusting from the inside out. During the Centennial Restoration from 1984 to 1986, engineers undertook a massive internal overhaul. Around 1,800 wrought iron armature bars, the structural ligaments that connected her copper skin to the frame, had corroded. One by one, they were replaced with 316L stainless steel, a high-grade metal chosen for its resistance to corrosion and compatibility with copper. Restoring her body was only a part of preserving the legacy. Monument's spirit, however, needed no repair. It had already spread far and wide.
Officially, she is Liberty enlightening the world, a gift from France to the United States in 1886. But her message of freedom and democracy resonated far beyond New York Harbor. Soon others wanted their own torchbearer. Today there are dozens of replicas of the Statue of Liberty across the globe. Several replicas dot the French landscape, each with its own backstory. The most famous stands on the Île aux Cygnes, a small island in the Seine in Paris. Installed in 1889, 3 years after the New York version, it faces west toward its American sister. Symbolically, it's a gesture of friendship. Geographically, it serves as a visual connection between the old world and the new.
Liberty has been copied endlessly. You'll find her glowing in neon outside the New York Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, her torch blazing among the slot machines and faux skylines. Hundreds of these miniature Liberties were distributed across the US as part of the Boy Scouts' Strengthen the Arm of Liberty campaign from 1949 to 1952. Lady Liberty has not only been replicated in bronze and concrete, but in pixels and celluloid. Who could forget the final chilling scene of Planet of the Apes from 1968, where her broken crown juts out of a sandy beach, signaling the fall of civilization? Or Ghostbusters 2, where she strides through Manhattan powered by positivity and a stereo-blasting Jackie Wilson? She's been lampooned in The Simpsons and served as a post-apocalyptic warning in Cloverfield and The Day After Tomorrow.
Next time you see her glowing in New York Harbor, you'll know she's more than a postcard silhouette. She's a copper-clad giant with secrets. But don't stop here. Our channel is filled with other journeys into hidden places, surprising stories, and curious mysteries that history forgot to tell. Are you ready to continue exploring with us?